As many of you know, Milo Murphy's Law is doing a crossover with Phineas and Ferb, which was announced at Comic-Con in July of 2017. Supposedly, the goal is to release the episode in April of 2018, at the beginning of Season 2 of Milo Murphy's Law, according to the Twitter account of Dan Povenmire, the co-creator of Phineas and Ferb. Now, this is big news for both shows, as we haven't seen any new Phineas and Ferb episodes since the OWCA files back in 2015, as the creators have been focusing all their energy on Milo Murphy's Law. However, there have been plenty of Phineas and Ferb references in the show already within the songs, the costumes, and the dialogue. I'll post a video soon going over all the references, but right now I want to take a look at how the timelines of these shows match up. Let's start with Phineas and Ferb. Phineas and Ferb takes place during a seemingly endless summer, and since the show went on for 10 years, far past the 104 days of summer vacation, the writers would often throw in little bits that made fun of this fact.
I'm telling you, I'm dry, Perry the Platypus, dry, and this summer just keeps going on and on. It feels like it's been going on for like 4 years.
Needless to say, Phineas and Ferb played hard and fast with its timeline. There were a few episodes in exception to the rule, such as Doof 101, which is set on the first day of school after the summer, where we learn that Phineas and Ferb are still in elementary school after the summer is over. Another is Father's Day, clearly set on the said holiday, as well as the first Christmas special and the New Year's special. Another notable exception is Actor Age, which is set 10 years after Phineas and Ferb's finale, and this episode shows us what the characters are like in their teens, as well as answering the Finnabella question. Keep this episode in mind, as it becomes very important to the timeline later on. As far as I can remember, no distinct year is given or mentioned in any episode, but it is safe to say that the series is set during a summer anywhere from 2005 to 2015. Now to Milo Murphy's Law. The show begins on the first day of middle school, 7th grade for the characters mentioned in the show, as per the episode The Doctor's Note. The rest of the show is set largely during the school year, with the larger events outside of school presumably taking place during the weekends. As for a specific date, I'm not sure the show ever mentioned one, though I need to double check. Other than that, the show is clearly set in the modern day, in the same timeline as Phineas and Ferb. So how do these two timelines connect exactly? Milo Murphy's Law takes place on the day after Phineas and Ferb's ending. It goes from the last day of summer to the first day of school, and that's the genius of it. We haven't missed anything from one show to the next. What gives this timeline its biggest confirmation is that Melissa, in the Lard World episode, says this.
It was the first day of summer. Everything seemed normal. I just finished assembling a cool science project in my backyard when suddenly... Done!
Since she doesn't name a specific summer, we can assume that it was the previous summer, which is clearly the same summer that Phineas and Ferb was set in. So now that we know the general timeline of these two shows, it is easier to see how the crossover will work out. Spoiler warning for the plot of Milo Murphy's Law beyond this point. In the episode Fungus Among Us, we start out just another day in Milo's life, when Cavendish and Dakota interrupt and decide to go back to the past after they receive a cry for help from themselves in the past. When they escape from the past, they end up in Milo's time due to car damage, 2 weeks past when they left, only to find that the future has changed and everyone is replaced by pistachions, except notably Milo's sister Sarah, who is eventually replaced by a pistachion, and Dr. Doofenshmirtz, aka Professor Time. They go to find Professor Time to hopefully get him to invent time travel early, since he invents time travel in 12 years from Milo's time. Now going back to Phineas and Ferb's Actor Age episode, set 10 years after the end of the show, we saw Doofenshmirtz older and well settled, having given up his evil ways and enjoying pastimes such as bowling. However, we now know that within 2 years of that episode, he invents time travel, which becomes of widespread use in the future, particularly in the year 2175, the year from which Cavendish and Dakota are from. Or Doofenshmirtz could have invented time travel in the same summer that Phineas and Ferb was set. After all, this little throwaway line was included in the last episode.
Why would Vanessa want to move out?
Let's see if we can solve that little mystery.
I know you said the time machine in the bathroom was a bad idea, but if you need to go, you should do it last week.
What's even more fascinating is that Phineas and Ferb also had its own time travel episodes, using the time machine that Phineas and Ferb had refurbished. However, those episodes didn't get into detail with the history of time travel as a whole like Milo Murphy's Law does. So here's my prediction for the timeline of the crossover. Phineas and Ferb are in their school year, but clearly school is out due to the pistachion takeover. Because of this, the show can play with how the characters interact without having to worry about constraining Phineas and Ferb based on the timeline. As for the plot, I have no idea. I mean, if sentient pistachios taking over the world can happen in the show, anything is fair game. Although I'm pretty sure the reason Candace won't be able to bust her brothers this episode will be because of Milo. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and tell me if I missed any timeline details. On a side note, Dan Povenmire shared this to his Twitter, and it looks like a storyboard frame from the crossover where we'll see Agent P meet Milo and DOG. Special thanks for this video goes to the Phineas and Ferb wiki and the Milo Murphy's Law wiki. You guys be sure to check them out. They have tons of great Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law facts and just little trivia if you want to know more about the two shows. Also, a special thanks to PYF Chiapas on YouTube for providing some of the clips for the music videos. If you love the Phineas and Ferb music videos like I do, you'll want to make sure to check them out on YouTube, and I'll have a link right here on the end card so that you can click on that.